Well, welcome everyone to the home inspector program we've got going on tonight. We're talking about how to become a successful home inspector. We do have a couple of housekeeping rules that we need to talk about this evening before we get started. There is a Q&A section at the end of the presentation, but please hold your questions to that. But if you would like to, just write those down. We'll be able to go over them at the end. Please don't use the chat session though, because we will not be doing that during the middle of the presentation because we want to make sure that y'all are getting great information. At the end, or anytime in the future, you can always email us at admissions@icaschool.com or give us a call at 888-315-3565 so we can be able to answer any questions that you might have. A little bit about ICA for those of you that are not familiar with it. We have been training home inspectors since 2012. We have over 50,000 inspectors that we've actually trained, and y'all are in luck because AJ here is one of our former graduates. So looking forward to everyone hearing his story and giving you some tips, tricks, and things that he's actually experienced over his last 5, 6 years of doing inspections. So that's going to be very interesting for you. We are licensed to teach students in 49 states. Only state we're not doing inspection training in is New Jersey, but we have options. So please make sure you talk to our sales team and they can be able to help you with options on that. And we are also in Canada. So for any of those Canadians that are looking to get in the business, we're here to help you with that as well. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Inspector AJ, and he will take it from here.
Well, thank you very much, Sandra. Just out of curiosity, because I can't see it on my side, how many people do we have in right now? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, 48.
48, perfect. That was about around kind of what we had last time too. So, well, welcome everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon in some parts of the country. If you're in Alaska, uh, good morning rather. Like Sandra said, my name is Inspector AJ. That's my internet persona. But my actual legal name is Austin Jenkins. I'm a home inspector here in Johnson City, Tennessee. I've been inspecting since the beginning of 2018, so I've been at it for a little over 7 years at this, actually almost 7 years. I've been in the field for quite a while in regards to construction, engineering, but I decided to make the jump to learning the home inspection process in 2017 and then took the exams and then got started in 2018. So overall, um, on social media is kind of where I have my largest presence, right? So TikTok is my biggest at 1.9 million followers. Facebook is around 148. Instagram's 201, YouTube's 18,007. I'm fortunate and blessed enough to be able to show everybody that gets to watch my videos the ins and out of the process. And I like to tie it in because a lot of people can, even if you're renting or if you're getting ready to buy or if you currently own, you can apply what we teach to your everyday life, right? You don't have to be a homeowner to look and say, hey, my, water heater needs a TPR downspout pipe, or hey, my HVAC system needs servicing. Everybody can apply it. And right now in 2025 is honestly one of the best times that you can get started into a new career, even if you wanted to do it full time, part time, once a month, twice a month, what have you. There's literally no better time to get started right now. So, we'll get started. The ICA has got some good benefits. I'll explain those. We'll explain how to get started and hopefully set you up for success. Toward the end, I'll kind of explain what my shortcomings were, what happened, because there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know that happened in my process, kind of some speed bumps. And then hopefully I'll be able to help you avoid those. So we'll go ahead and get started. So new year, new career, home inspecting in 2025. So ultimately, we want to be home inspectors and we want to be successful home inspectors. So how do we do that, right? So there's a famous quote that says, a goal without a plan is nothing but a fantasy, right? So you've taken the first step, you're in the webinar, it's completely free, you're just gathering information. I get it. So hopefully we'll set you up for success along the way, right? Sandra has already covered the housekeeping items, so we'll just skip on from that. So ICA was founded in 2012 to be, wide range of individual professions, right? So they offer the actual pre-licensing in 49 states and most of the territories in Canada. and they offer continuing education as well. They've had over 50,000 graduates, like she said, and I am one of them. I've been an ICA graduate, and I proudly refer them to anybody that will ask, and I will continue to do so years into the future. Why would you want to be a home inspector, right? Do you want to be your own boss? Do you want to have your own schedule? Well, you can kind of do all of that. And then there's two different paths you could take, right? Do you want to work for yourself, or do you want to work for someone else? Either one, you could easily do it. Um, do you want to have more time for activities that you enjoy? Like, for instance, before the webinar got started, I was explaining to Sandra that I had just got home from baseball practice with my kids. Ever since I became self-employed full time, it has given me the opportunity to be around my family more. If there's days that I don't want to work, I just schedule myself off. So it's really nice to be able to do that. And one really good benefit is that as an inspector, you get to help other family members buy their first home, buy their second, their third, their fourth. You get to help them transition into a major milestone in their life. A lot of families, especially with young kids, have never been able to see the process of what it takes to get into a new home. I get clients that come to the inspections with their small kids and they're like, "Well, who are you?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm the inspector." And, the kids, they don't know what that means, right? So, the parents will say that he's just making the house safe. And to me, when they say that, that makes me feel awesome to know that I'm making some form of impact, to know that their house would be safe. What you'll do, right? That's the number one thing. What do you do as an inspector? Do you go out? Do you fail things? Do you shut the job sites down? And the answer to those would be no, right? Um, Essentially, an inspector doesn't pass fail unless you're a city code official. The home inspector is there for condition ratings, for normal operating procedures on visible systems, right? So, um, it's a non-invasive process, which means we don't cut into anything. You can remove some panels if you're comfortable with them, but it's a non-invasive process, right? In the career field, you'll learn something new every single day. Doing this over 7 years, I literally learned something new every single day. For instance, I was at an inspection this morning. It was a new build, and they were pressure washing the exterior of the home, and they blew some water under some siding, and it was pouring into the garage. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, I actually might have posted about it earlier. You'll use your knowledge to benefit your life as well as others. Like I said, the one really good benefit is you being able to help other people. And another good benefit, it is quite profitable. You'll be able to cultivate the ability to utilize, your attention to detail capabilities. Ever since transitioning from an office desk job, whether it be looking at engineering plans or working in finance, or if you're a cop or if you're a nurse, each individual career has its own specific skill set that would benefit you in this career. You don't necessarily have to have any experience in the construction industry. I talk to a lot of people every day that are retired cops or retired firefighters that are wanting to transition into something new for supplemental income. Some police department agencies will have a 7-day break, and I know inspectors that are cops that work every single day during those 7 days. It's just something they want to do part time. Um, I've inspected a little over 6,000 properties. So you get to see new places and things every day. And you'll realize that even though you may be inspecting some cookie cutter homes every now and then, no properties are the same. And essentially, you'll take photos and write about what you see. You'll take a picture of something and then you'll write about it. That's essentially 95% of what the job is. Home inspectors are hugely in demand. So according to the National Association of Realtors, 77% of home sales use an inspector, which is around 3.2 million last year. It is projected that home sales will increase by over 36% in the next 2 years, which generates a huge opportunity. We are also seeing a shift right now. Obviously, coming out of an election year, there are things that happen that drive sales, and the Fed announced today rates are going to stay the same. A lot of people are either waiting to see what the rates are going to do, or they're going to go ahead and buy now, right? A lot of people are buying now and then buying down their rate later after possibly a refinance. Some people are saying that the market is slow, and honestly, inspectors would disagree across the country. I know inspectors right now that are having to turn work away because they are too busy, and they have increased prices in 2025, and we are one of them. Beginning of 2025, we did increase our prices to follow the market and be competitive, and we are still having to turn work away because of the demand in real estate. Um, so how do you calculate what you charge for an inspection? That's the number one question that I get asked from new inspectors is, hey, am I priced too low? Am I priced too high? What do I do, right? There's a couple different ways to do it. Simply, I charge based on square footage, and that's it, right? I live in kind of an urban area. Most of my inspections are usually within 20 to 25 minutes of a drive time. I know inspectors out in Colorado and Texas that are driving 2 hours. So they may calculate a mileage fee, usually, like 18 cents a mile. Geographic location could be one. If the property is, let's just say, for instance, older than 1978, which is kind of the turn of the century in regards to construction materials and techniques. So some inspectors, if a property was built before 1978, there'll be an additional surcharge added on because it's a higher risk to them physically. Um, some inspectors charge 23 cents per square foot. For instance, a 2,000 square foot home, which is very average in the United States, would be about $460. My pricing scheme is a little bit different than that. Rather than charging per square foot, what I charge is basically on a tier, right? So my base fee starts at 420, and then everything else, like for instance, if it is, I think up to 1,400 square feet, then it goes to 460, and then 1,400 to 1,800, then 475, and it just tiers up from there. Of course, we'll talk about ancillaries here soon, but that can also take a regular $460 home inspection all the way up to about $1,400 or $1,500. We'll talk about that kind of here in a little bit. How many inspections can you perform in a week? If an inspector tells you they're doing more than 2 inspections a day, take that with a grain of salt. A typical work day is, average 8, 9 hours. On a 2,000 square foot home, as mentioned above, on-site time is anywhere between 2.5, 3 hours on average. Calculate report time, drive time. That twice a day is about an 8-hour workday. Anything beyond that would be risky. My techniques when I do most of the time, I do one property a day, but there's usually 3 or 4 ancillaries associated with it, right? So my average inspection cost is about $900 compared, to two $450 inspections. So that's the way I choose. And then the employees that work for me, some of them, for instance, aren't certified to do certain things, so they don't do it. So I take on that burden and responsibility. But once you gain those certifications, years down the road, that's something you can do. But if you want to get started doing 2 a day, that can make an amazing amount of money for you as a business owner. Once you add services like mold or radon, averaging 150 each to an inspection cost, that is honestly a little bit on the low end. For radon testing for me, it is 150. And if I do a mold analysis and an indoor air quality test, those usually start out at right around $400. So you take, $450 inspection plus $400 for mold test plus 150 for a radon, you're looking at almost $1,000. That doesn't even mention, if they want water testing or anything else. There's a few other ancillaries we'll talk about kind of in the Q&A, but those do require advanced training and certifications, but definitely something you don't have to do. I just choose to do it because I've been doing this for so long and it works for us. Well, I guess I could talk about the annual income potential, right? So full disclosure, home inspectors can easily make well over 6 figures. Um, for those of you that follow me on social media, you obviously know social media pays pretty well. Excluding social media income, my uh, home inspection revenue was about 240,000 for 2024. So as you can see, it's pretty profitable as a full-time gig. Some of the benefits: you can work anywhere, you can grow with the industry, set your hours. My time slots for inspections are 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. and continuing education because in reality, you never stop learning. Use it to help families, including yours. There's an old saying that says the mechanic's car always needs work. Well, everybody always jokes around with me and say, "Hey, we'd love to see your house." And in reality, you probably wouldn't. But yeah, you can use it to benefit yourself and other people. And you see here in the photo, we have Floyd. He's one of the instructors at ICA, and he's a good dude. So what he's got in his hand right here, obviously you wouldn't do in the field, which is pull a live breaker, but this is a training environment. But you can remove an electrical panel cover to show your clients the inside of the panel. Obviously you'd have a meter socket here if it was on the outside, but obviously that's dead circuitry. So becoming the home inspector, what do you do? So ICA is approved to provide education in 49 of 50 US states. The only one they can't get the certification is New Jersey, which I think they said that they are working on it, and they do have other routes that you can take if you do live in New Jersey and you want to get certified, and most Canadian provinces as well. And then what happens if you move to another state and you're licensed, or if you're like me and you live right about here in the Northeast Tennessee corner? Because as you can see here, we have Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. I am extremely fortunate enough to where I don't have to cross into different states' borders to keep our business profitable. But there are other inspectors that have to do that because they live right on the line. 2 minutes you're in, Bristol, Virginia, and Bristol, Tennessee, and it's literally separated by one street. So you may have to pay attention, especially if you live on the border of another state. Some states offer reciprocity, and then there are, if I recall correctly, between 14 or 16 states that do not require licensure. Georgia is one of the states that does not require licensure. California doesn't require it. Colorado doesn't require it. Texas does require it. And in fact, Texas is actually one of the most strict in regards to licensing requirements. I think Alabama, you have to do ride-alongs, but each state is different. And make yourself a note after the webinar if you'd like. You can go to icaschool.com and actually click on state licensing. Click on your state, and it will show you what is required based on where you live or where you want to work. What kind of skills do you need for a successful career in home inspecting? Well, some states require a high school diploma or GED. Some require in-person classes. Some allow online coursework. Some require live field training, require ride-alongs we just discussed that would require you to pass either a state or national home inspector exam, and require you to apply for the license. In some states, again, don't require anything. For instance, where I live, uh, Tennessee does allow for 100% virtual, and then we do have to sit and take the National Home Inspector exam, which is not an easy test. Full disclosure, I did fail that test twice. So it is not an easy test, and thankfully, I found my shortcomings by not studying properly. I assumed that I would be able to breeze through the course because I had the experience necessary and that I would be able to go in and ace the test. And I could not have been more wrong. And it was 100% my fault both times, but third time's a charm. So I took it past. And thankfully, you only ever have to take it one time if you pass it, if your state requires it, and you never have to take it again. But it was one of those that I am thankful I would never have to take again, because obviously you do have to pay for it. I think at the time it was like $250 per test. So as you can see, when I got started, I was already in the red $500. Let's talk about ICA's training. See, we got Floyd and his group here. ICA face mask. Sandra, are you in that?
I am. I'm right
Yep,
behind
right behind
Floyd.
him. Yep. Sorry, my screen didn't show me. So we got him in there.
No.
Good team. And you guys are based out of Virginia, is that correct?
We actually are based out of North Carolina, so we really handle all of the North Carolina training and field training with that, as
Right.
well as multiple other states, Arkansas, Virginia, Maryland,
Good go.
Ohio, some,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Nice. Um, so the way that the courses are laid out, right? Whenever you're in your portal and you're watching the videos and you're taking the online tests, essentially the process, looking back now, it's almost how I do my inspections, right? So the way I do my inspections are top down, outside in, right? So if you look at the structure, roofing, exterior structure, top down, right? And then outside in. And and one thing that ICA will teach you is to build your own routine and stick with it, right? Because if you stick to your same routine every single house, you essentially won't change anything up and miss anything. So the way that I started, I will go into a home, assuming I've already done the exterior, and depending on where the door is, that is where I start. I will either do a clockwise rotation or a counterclockwise rotation. Now, my workflow is a little bit different than what you're taught, regardless, from what you hear through associations or through ICA. I actually start on the floor that I enter on. For instance, if I enter a split foyer home, I start on the highest floor. If I enter a condo with a drive under garage, I will start in the drive under garage. That's just my flow. There's no set standard that you would have to do. It's just whatever you're most comfortable with. And I've been using this for 7 years and it's been successful for me. And that's what I choose to stick with. Now, the other inspectors in our firm, they have entirely different philosophies, right? So we have one inspector that what he will do is on the outside of a home, he will look at all the windows. He'll make one full rotation. Then he'll look at all the doors, make another rotation. Then he'll do another rotation to look at the gutters and the eaves. And he'll do about seven or eight laps around a home before he goes inside. And that works for him. And he is extremely detailed. And I'm not going to ask him to change it because it's comfortable for him. And everybody has their own methodology. So you'll cover roofing, exterior. You'll talk about all the different kinds of roofing materials, exterior wall cladding, windows. Everything on the exterior building envelope will be covered. The structure, the types of foundations, the types of flooring supports. You'll go as far, metal support posts that aren't connected to support beams. I mean, there's so much information that's going to be thrown at you, but they do it in a very informative way and with real live experiences. So it's not just diagrams and drawings. There are actual inspection deficiencies that you will learn from. They'll cover all kinds of plumbing, different types of heating, because here in the South, we don't have boilers. I have still never seen a boiler in person. Now in, New England, they're quite common. I've never seen them. So you will get to see all of that encompassed into one program. You'll learn about different types of air conditioning, electrical. They'll teach you how to write your reports. They'll discuss legal and business aspects and then how to market yourself. And here you have Floyd again. Why should you choose ICA, right? I chose it because it had really good reviews and it was affordable. Like I said, when I took the courses, I believe it was at the end of 2017. I was scrolling through Facebook and I was miserable at my job. I worked a desk job in an office with it was maybe a 30 square foot office, what it felt like. And I was so just disgruntled. I wanted out of it. I was tired of looking at plans every day. And I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw ICA's ad. And at the time, I looked at it and it was affordable. And I was said, okay, I'll make the change. Signed up that night and never looked back. I was fortunate enough to be able to take the course. And ultimately, when I did, pass on that third time, I got the ball rolling. And it was to the point where I was leaving work, 4:30, 5 o'clock, going to do an inspection. And then I would do that twice a week, then 3 times a week. And then all on the weekends, I would do two on Saturday, two on Sunday. And then it got to the point where I was having to take vacation days from my office job in order to meet the demand. And then my wife and I sat down and she was a full-time nurse. And at the time we had one child and we had to make a decision. Do I continue at my set salary position? And I had only been inspecting about 7 months at the time, and I had already met my annual salary at the time. And I think my first year inspecting, I made 55,000 part-time, which had matched my salary at the time in 2017. And at that point, we both came to the conclusion that it was time to make it full-time. And it's been widely successful, and I honestly don't think I could picture myself doing anything different at this point. So with ICA, it's very flexible, right? You have access to the material 24/7, right? There's no set schedule that you have to have something completed, and you do it on your own time. If you're fortunate enough to be able to have some downtime either at your current job or at home, you can study and do it as fast as you want. The training is very affordable. When I went through, they did not have Affirm or PayPal. Now they do. And that is kind of one of the biggest barriers that I see is the initial startup cost because, that's kind of the biggest gatekeep that anybody would have, right? How much is it to get started? And surprisingly enough, and I'll cover it at the end, there's not a lot of startup costs that you would think. And we'll kind of cover that. The instructor is available to answer any questions. So all you need to do is just reach out to them. Um, and you have lifetime access. So once you purchase the course and materials, they're yours to complete at your own pace. There's no expiration date. You do it at your own pace. If it takes you 1 month, 1 week, or if it takes you a year, there is no time. You do it at your own pace. Let's take a look here. Let me move that window. So, how are they going to prepare you, right? Whoops, wrong button. So there's three different training options with ICA. So you have a foundation package, Foundation Plus, and Premier. So the foundation package has everything to get you started. So it's got the online course, National Home Inspector exam prep, lifetime access. You got a bonus library. They have their own proprietary report writing software, and they also take you through the commercial certification course if you want to get started in doing commercial inspections as well. If you want to go for the Foundation Plus package, that has everything that Foundation has plus 1 year industry membership uh, to ICA 360. And then if you want to go to the Mac Daddy Premier, it includes everything you saw before, except this one also has the radon mold certification, and you get your ICA Premier Inspector digital badge. Now, if you're asking me, I would prefer the Premier because around 90% of the inspections that I do will either have radon or mold associated with them. So I'm going to be adding it on anyway. So going out of the gate, you might as well go ahead and have it. So we can go ahead and talk about some offers and discounts for anybody that wants to go with ICA, right? Um, so you'll have access to professional development webinars in marketing, networking, and business skills. Continuing ed, because in most states you have to have continuing education for license renewals. So my state requires 32 hours of continuing ed every 2 years in order to continually renew my license. If I didn't have continuing ed, I wouldn't be able to renew. I wouldn't be able to work. Um, you would be able to get 10% off your liability insurance through OREP. They're one of the largest home inspection insurers out there, and you get one free 1 year listing on hireinspector.com, right? So everybody knows social media and the internet is where you get hired. So as we discussed previously, if you want to enroll in their course, you do have the options to go with a firm and PayPal to do financing, or if you just want to buy it straight out, all major credit cards. So the next steps and how to get started, right? So you have your license. What do you do? The first thing would be to check your state's requirements, right? So like I said at the beginning of the webinar, you can go to icaschool.com, click on state licensing, and then click on the state that you're in or that you want to work in, and it'll tell you exactly what you need step by step. Then you'll complete the training. If it's required by your state, you will take and pass, hopefully on the first time go, the national exam. All right. Again, it's not an easy test, but if you pay attention to the course material, ICA will set you up for success. Once, for instance, when I took and passed mine, I then had to get liability insurance. So I had to get professional liability and general liability. They issued those within the same day. I applied through the state. My license was issued, and I started work the very next day. So let's open the door to a bright new future. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to kind of tell you what happened with me first, how I got started, and then we'll take some questions if that's okay. So again, I finished the course. I believe it was at the end of 2017. It was either at the end of 2017 or the very, very beginning of 2018. Again, it was my own fault, but I did fail the national exam the first time. I went through the entire course material again, except I had kind of a long break, had some stuff go through at work. I took the test again and I missed it by one question. And the thing is, I remember that one question to this very day. Now I can't give out that question because it is still on the national exam, but I remember that question as plain as day. And then when I took the test for the second time around, I think I got like a 96%. But all I had to do was just pay attention. That was my fault. Um, and of course, ICA talks about this, but there are multiple paths in regards to business structure, right? So they'll talk about DBAs, LLCs, corporations, what would set you up best for success, right? So with mine, it's set up through multiple LLCs, an S corp, and then a family trust. I like to do things the complicated way, so please don't do it like me. But for the 99.9% of people, a standard LLC is the way to go. And of course, you can get those set up through local attorney, Rocket Lawyer or LegalZoom. I mean, obviously this isn't legal advice, it's obviously seek legal counsel, but you can easily get started for relatively cheap. Once I got everything set up, I was storming out of the gate. From the time I got my license to the time that I did my first inspection was less than 8 days. And I was marketing, paying Google ads, and then I was driving one day, and like most people do, they were texting and driving, and I got a message from a realtor buddy that said, "Hey, I just tagged you in a post on Facebook." He had tagged me in a post. This girl was buying a property for sale by owner, and she posted said, "Hey, does anybody know any home inspectors?" And I jumped all over that one. And then word of mouth from her, uh, the agent that texted me, they referred me. And I can proudly say to this very day, thankfully, due to word of mouth, I pay less than $100 a month in marketing, which is really not bad. And most of the time, and that just gets me to show on Google. But we, have been extremely fortunate in regards to being able to have that word of mouth referral, because ultimately, as an inspector, and this is my personal advice, ICA doesn't even know I'm about to say this. If you do right by your client and you do what's in their best interests, you will be a successful inspector. There's no doubt about it. So,
Absolutely.
um, but yeah, so I see I saw the notification come up said we have some hands raised. So we can go ahead and answer some questions, do some Q&A. Not because I guarantee there's some questions that I've not even begin to have covered yet. Let's see. I don't know if I can see it on here. Whoops. You want me to cover that now, Sandra, or wait?
Johnny had his hand raised. I unmuted him so he can ask directly.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I can't see who's uh whoops.
Oh, you're all good, Austin. Hey, so I watched the video earlier today. I think it was James Shoemaker, and he talked about a little bit about him and his wife started the business, and I'm a little bit older than you. I just quit a job where I worked 20 years, and at I guess an impatient state. I thought I could sit at home, but I can't. And like I said, a little older than you, but
Okay.
if you could give me advice on, I know there's a lot of companies. I live here in Florida. If you
Okay.
could give me any advice on how to get my foot in the door with all of the other inspector companies out there, what would be your advice?
Johnny, what part of Florida do you live in, if you don't mind me asking?
I live in Winter Haven. It's in between Orlando and Tampa.
Okay. So it's funny that you mentioned that. I actually have a buddy named Sean who just lives outside of Orlando, that would probably be looking for some help. Um, so he would be a really good resource. If you want to shoot me an email or message on any of the social media platforms, I'd be happy to get you in touch with him. Um, because he is up to his eyeballs in work. So if you don't want to do that, here's what I would suggest, right? So assuming you're doing the ICA course, you're going through everything, you're knocking it out. The biggest thing that I would do is just talk to people. Attend open houses. Do you fish?
I do fish, not
Okay.
not as much as I want to, but that's why I'm trying to do this.
Yeah. So I have met more people fishing, and I've done inspections for them than would be believable, right? So I always keep some business cards, and like we'll go to the marina if we're fishing or having it, and I'll just hand out business cards, man. I will hand out business cards like crazy. And really the one barrier that I see a lot of new inspectors that they're lacking on getting business is literally just not talking to people. And that's kind of one thing, my gift of gab, man. I could talk to anybody about anything, right?
Yeah.
So in Florida, obviously Florida is, it's kind of like a haven for retired folks moving in, from the coasts up
Yeah.
north. So the work is there. It's just if you can talk to somebody and just ask for their business, go meet a new realtor. What I did is I got in touch with, well, I didn't really get in touch with, but my state, the regulatory board publishes new license issuances every month. So what I did is I got a hold of all of their information and I just sent them an email. I said, "Hey, your first home inspection, $50 off." And I still have probably 100 or 200 agents that I still talk to and do inspections for on an annual basis, simply for the fact that I was the first person that reached out to them after they got licensed. And then whenever they had a client, they were like, "Hey, yeah, this inspector said, $50 off for the first inspection." Um, so the business is out there. Honestly, just ask for it. That's one of the things that even here in Tennessee, whenever new inspectors get started, I'll get messages all the time. And I'm mentoring another local inspector now. And he said, "How can I get more business?" And I just told him, I was like, just ask for it. Ask, make partnerships with other inspectors. My friend Sean, he refers a lot of local inspectors out. If he can't make it or if they call him and they say, "Hey, are you available?" He says, "No," give Johnny a call. Ultimately, it's just about building relationships.
Yeah, I'm like you, Austin. I have the gift of gab, but
Yeah.
so I appreciate that. I would like to. I mean, you're very knowledgeable, and we appreciate the presentation first and foremost. But and if I could, I know there's other people out there that have questions, but for an old timer like me, what would be your, I've been out of school for a long time,
Yeah.
Austin. So passing a test is like very intimidating. I'm not gonna lie to you. So if you could, and it seems like the knowledge is or the classes are going to be very knowledgeable. So what do you have any advice? I know you shared you failed twice, and I appreciate you being transparent with that. But do you have any advice for us
Yeah, man.
folks that haven't taken the test?
Yes. So when I completed the course, I had, and I hate to say it, I had that smart aleck attitude that I could put in some AirPods and just listen to it while I did my actual work. And if something caught my attention, I would just look over. In reality, looking back after I did pass, if I had paid attention and just actually sat there on my phone and looked at the material as they were talking about it, I would have passed flying colors the first time. The material, it's not dry. That's one thing that I really appreciated, that it wasn't dry. And each module isn't like 5 hours long. Like they're broken up so that you could watch one, come back and watch the second, third, fourth, fifth. So it's not anything that, like, you have to pause, remember where you were, write it down, and then keep moving. After the course is completed, now, Sandra, please correct me if I'm wrong, because it's, like I said, it's been 7, 8 years since I took the course. After you complete a module, they do have quizzes that you take based on the content that you just watched, right? And then they have, the post course assessment, I believe. And then if you're still struggling, Quizlet is a really good resource too, that there's other inspectors that have actually developed questions that are very similar, wink, wink, to the National
Can you
Home.
say that? Can you say that name again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Quizlet, Quizlet. But there's a ton of resources out there that you could use to help pass the test the first time. The
Okay.
with um with me again, I literally, what I did is I set my phone next to my computer at my office, and I had my AirPods in, and I'd listen to a module and I'd skip, listen to a module and I'd skip, and again, it was my own fault because I just didn't pay attention. But there is a lot of information that goes out. That I will be fully upfront about. But again, if you pay attention, take notes if you want to, rewatch it if you miss something. There's a very high statistical chance you'd pass it first time go.
The other thing that's
Thank
a
you. I
really,
appreciate.
really interesting and good for the students to know, in Florida, we also offer field training. So even though once you're there in the classroom online, you have the questions, you build the confidence once we can get you into the field training. The field training that we have in Florida have some fantastic trainers that have been with ICA for many years and could really help you out and bridge that gap that you might be having, especially since you're saying you're one of our old timers. Truthfully, most of the people that come into the home inspector training that are average in my class are going to be anywhere between 45 and 55, which I know that might sound a little bit strange, but that's really when most people are starting to get in the business. AJ just happened to be lucky enough to get in when he was, still a young buck and, make the change. But
Most
some of us are in that other range that we're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of the new inspectors that I see entering the market are retired that don't want to sit at home and watch National Geographic or go, to Hardee's at 6 a.m. for coffee. They want to be back into the field, again, like I was talking about the police thing. The reason I brought the police thing up is there was a police officer that had retired and he'd been retired for maybe 3 weeks and he said, I can't do this. I got to get back to work. And he didn't want to go back into law enforcement, so he became a home inspector. So he's actually one of my good friends. He lives just about 100 miles west of me, but we talk all the time. And he has kicked himself in the rear end 100 times because he didn't do it sooner. As a law enforcement officer, he didn't make as much money as he's making now. And had he done that, I mean, not knocking law enforcement or anything like that, but financially, it's obviously better. But
No, I really appreciate that. And my wife and I are going to, Sandra, my wife and I are going to go to, it's in Orlando, if you guys have ever been there, but the field training is in Orlando. So we are going to take advantage of that.
Oh,
Appreciate you
awesome.
sharing.
nice.
Absolutely. Well, me and my husband actually own a home inspection company together. I've been in the field for 16 years. Feel free to reach out to ICA and I will be happy to talk to you and your wife and give you some perspective from a couple doing inspections.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Of course.
Oh,
I don't
not a
want to
problem
take
at
any
all.
more of your time. I know there's
Yeah.
other people. So thank you guys so much.
You're welcome,
You're
Johnny.
welcome.
Um,
All right, we got Victoria is next.
okay.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Hey, Victoria, how are you?
Thank you for sharing. That's so encouraging. I already bought the program
Did you use the code?
and
What's the
I
money?
completed I actually got an excellent deal. I added the rate on and everything. They gave me such a good deal. And I don't remember where you don't have video, right? You guys don't have video, right? It's just audio
Of
on where we're talking. You can't see me,
Oh, no,
correct?
just audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done Zoom without seeing each other. So I used to do it for work. Anyhow, I'll be quick too, because I know I don't want to get lengthy. I can gab too. Let me tell you, I'm a nurse of 18 years. I can gab.
Your service
So-
announcing.
My wife is too.
Oh, I did labor and delivery for 14 years, and then I did 4 years as director of nursing for a
Oh, wow.
surgical. Yeah. So I'm like, I got to phase out of healthcare because I'm not enjoying life. So
Yeah.
I made that decision while I'm out having hip replacement, which went gloriously, recommend it highly to anyone. But I'm young, I'm only 54. Anyway, wore out my body, and I know this does require some physicality. I am physically fit and I work out and I take good care of myself. But I enjoyed that, and I just wanted to anybody who's still in the room, I completed it. So I bought it before surgery thinking, oh, on my recovery, it's going to be great. No, I can't focus. And yes, you have to watch. Do
Yeah.
not try to listen. I took NCLEX one time, so I know about you got to test yourself. So I'm not worried about that part. My thing is, I'm not an entrepreneur. My mother was, my father was, my mother was an interior designer. So this fit for me. And my dad did home inspection after he retired in
Very nice.
Vegas.
Family business.
Yeah. So it's kind of like all over the place. And so I'm just looking, but I do like the program. I finished module 1 today, and I literally sat and watched it. It was pretty entertaining, and I'm so new to this field, and I have so much time on my hands that yes, I watched everything.
Sure.
So I passed with 80% on the first time. Didn't even look back through I made little notes, but if you watch it, like you said, I just wanted to do a test to that because yes, that's exactly how it is. It's so user friendly. I love it. So I'm very happy so far. I'm a little nervous about the LLC thing, but
Oh, that's
I
easy.
have realtor.
I would say, where are you getting licensed at?
Well, California doesn't require it, but I don't plan on, I've been here 8 years and I don't plan on staying. So I'm
Okay.
gonna get licensed. I'm that kind of person anyway. I'm way overachiever.
Yeah.
Sorry. You hear me, AJ.
I
I
love
know
it.
you hear me.
Love it.
So, all right. Well, I'll let y'all go. There's nothing, I mean, I just wanted to tell you guys I enjoyed it and I'm glad I watched this. I just I actually came across it when I logged in to finish module 1 today. So,
Love
yeah,
it.
I
Glad you
liked
watched.
it. Yeah. Thank you
You
for
joined us.
everything. And
You're
I
so
hope to
welcome.
see you guys I'm all inner. So if I do it, and my friend who's a realtor, she's a broker. And she told me, oh my gosh, yeah, you'd be perfect at that. Because I don't want to do real estate, not my jam.
Gotcha.
But yeah, yeah. So I'm excited.
Yay.
Mm,
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thanks
Best
for
of
your time and the encouragement. I appreciate that.
course.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you. We are going to have time for one last question. And if we didn't get your question today, you can call in and admissions team can help you with that as well. So, yeah, a lot of questions. Obviously, can't get to all of them, but we have one more from Alexis.
okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Hey, AJ, I've been following you on TikTok for like a year, so I'm ecstatic about this seminar. Um, I just love the information you give, and it just intrigued me and my husband. Like, I want to do that. So it's like, hey, let's jump on and see what happens.
Are y'all gonna do like a husband-wife combo?
We kind of do want to, because he quit his job because he's pursuing his own thing too. So I'm like, why not add this to it? So, quick question.
Sure.
We're looking at the packages, and after the certifications, we're here in Illinois. After the certifications and passing through everything that we need to become inspectors, is there is there like guide to be able to go ahead and know how to properly set your business the correct way, like to jumpstart it? Of course, you have to do the extra work of getting out there and getting the leads and meeting people, but just what are the basic necessities to be able to properly start your side gig with this?
Girl, I got you. So, there are a lot of resources on Facebook, right? So I am an administrator of a Facebook group called Home Inspector Help. Um, if you want to join that Facebook group, you're absolutely welcome to. And what we do in there is we welcome new inspectors all over the country, right? We kind of self-mentor each other. We obviously give advice how to get started. We have people in that group that have not even given starting a second look yet. But yeah, so essentially, you've got a lot of trepidation, especially if you've not got the process started yet. But ICA will walk you through like the absolute basic to get you started. They're not gonna take the baby wolf and like throw you to the lions, right? They're gonna walk you through. So honestly, once I finished the course and passed everything, like I hit the ground running. But also going through like those Facebook groups and even on social media. Like we live in a world nowadays where we can literally take one of these and be able to communicate with millions of people in just a couple seconds, right? And the one cool thing is if you have a question about like the whole process, the instructors are there to answer your questions, right? So, I mean, even, utilizing mentors through associations or even, shooting me an email or a message. Well, honestly, really shooting me a message on is the easiest way to get a hold of me because my email, where it is public, I have a lot of firewall filters. So I get a lot of people that said, "Hey, I emailed you 3 weeks ago." Well, that's because I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So honestly, I mentor probably 30 or 40 inspectors a month on just getting started. And then a year later, they'll message me back and say, "Hey man, I did, 280 inspections for the year. I was able to quit, my full-time job," or "Hey, I'm still full-timing." We still have I've got buddies that are inspectors and real estate agents, and they just can't commingle the two. You can either sell the house or you can inspect it. You just can't commingle the two. Um, so like honestly, for you and your husband, I say find what works for you. And honestly, that husband and wife duo, that's it, because I mean, obviously, you have multiple things going for you, right? So you would have two inspectors under one roof, and then you would have the female-owned business as well, and that pulls its own niche because I work with a lot of single parents, right? So I mean, you have a lot of things that you're going to be able to tap into to be able to grow yourself. And you know, and this is just me speaking. Now, this isn't legal advice, so please don't take it as such. Seek legal counsel. But you know, a husband and wife, you could set up your own LLC. You can have it done for less than a couple $100s through most like LegalZoom.com, and then hit the ground running. And it's really interesting. You know, YouTube is an excellent source on how to set that up or how to get started. If you know if you have more questions about that kind of stuff, but I know the anxiety that you're feeling because I felt it too when I got started. And then after about the first month, I was like, yeah, I got this. But no, it's really anxious at first, but once you hit the ground running and you see like the process, you know, it's I kind of like to tell people it's like cooking a meal. All right, you go to the store to get the ingredients, then you come home and you prep them, then you cook it, then you eat it, and then it's like psychologically you don't really think about as you finish the meal about what you just did. You just enjoy the meal. Like it, and it's hard to explain, but it's one of those things that you would learn, you know, probably after the first few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you, AJ. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Sandra, too.
Of course.
You're welcome. Well, if you have any questions about, going into business with your husband and things, feel free to reach out through
Yes.
ICA and talk to me. Like I said, I've been doing this with my husband for 16 years. We have a multi-inspector firm, and I can give you a different perspective from the female side of inspecting. It's a much different than, being your average home inspector. So certainly I'll be happy to answer anything and give you some tips and tricks from that aspect.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
You're
so
welcome.
All right, I think that's all we got time for Q&A today, but
Okay.
yeah, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you AJ and Sandra for the great presentation.
If anybody has any extra questions that we didn't get to cover today, my email address is aj@inspectoraj.com, or you can send me a direct message on any social media app that you may follow me on. The only one I don't check my messages on is YouTube. Guilty. But if you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, you can send me a message. Now, it may take me a minute to get back with you. Poor Sandra had messaged me and I didn't see her message for like 5 days. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I forgive you. Also, but if you need to get in touch with me, you can always email me at sandra.icateacher@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
And then, of course, for those of you that do want to go ahead and sign up, there is the $200 off all of the pre-licensing courses with promo code AJ200. So that saves quite a chunk of change, especially getting started, you know, saving every bit you can. But other than that, you know, go ahead. What you got to lose?
All right, well, thank you again. We'll close it up from here.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you guys. Thanks to the ICA team for having me on. Hope to do it in a few more months and hopefully get more people into the field, man. It's cool.
Absolutely. Well, greatly appreciate you being here with us, AJ, and look forward to the next one.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you all.